The evening sky was painted with fading shades of orange and purple as the city began to light up. In the corner of a busy square, near a tall hotel with its shining glass windows, a boy stood alone. His clothes were worn, and too big for him, his shoes mismatched, and his face carried the dust of long days on the street. His name was Arif, and though the world saw him as just another poor boy wandering with nothing, hidden inside him was something rare, something powerful. His voice. Arif spent his days shining shoes, carrying bags for tourists, and sometimes singing softly to himself when no one was listening. Music was his secret comfort. He never had an instrument, never went to a music school, but his late father, who once played an old guitar in small cafes, had taught him the basics of rhythm and tone before illness carried him away. Since then, life had been a storm for Arif and his mother, who worked tirelessly washing clothes and scrubbing floors to keep food on the table. That night, as the cool wind swept through the square, Arif stood outside the hotel, where wealthy guests came and went. A live band was playing inside the grand hall for a special evening, golden lights glowing, tables filled with laughter, glasses clinking in celebration. Through the half-open doors, the sound of guitars strummed with energy drifted out. It was the song Hotel California. Arif froze. That song was special. His father used to hum it at night, whispering to him that one day, Arif's voice would soar higher than any walls around them. He closed his eyes and mouthed the words quietly, feeling every note, every lyric, but fate had a strange way of listening that night. The band's microphone suddenly failed. The guitarists kept strumming, but without the lead singer's voice, the performance fell apart. Guests began murmuring, some laughing, others losing interest. The hotel manager frowned, pacing nervously as the prestige of the event began slipping away. And then, like destiny had been waiting, someone near the doorway overheard Arif humming the lyrics. A soft, angelic voice, pure and trembling with emotion, carried the words, like they were born for him. One of the guitarists stepped outside, curious. He looked down at the skinny boy standing in the shadows and asked, "Was that you, kid?" Arif's heart pounded. He shook his head nervously, embarrassed. But the guitarist smiled, and held out a hand. "Come on. We need you." Inside the grand hall, people turned in surprise as this ragged boy was led to the stage. His clothes didn't fit the elegance of the place, but his eyes, wide and glistening, carried a fire no one could ignore. The band tuned quickly, nodding to him. A microphone was placed in front of him, and Arif took a shaky breath. The first notes of the guitar began again, familiar and haunting. Arif closed his eyes, remembering his father's voice, remembering the nights under the dim lantern, when they sang together. And then he began to sing. His voice poured out, like it came from the deepest part of his soul. It was soft yet powerful, fragile yet unshakable. Every word of Hotel California carried a longing, a story, a pain, and a beauty that no trained singer could replicate. The room fell silent. Waiters stopped serving, glasses were left untouched, and the guests stared in awe as this boy, who looked like he had nothing, gave them a gift more precious than gold. By the time he reached the chorus, something magical happened. People began to sway, some with tears in their eyes. A woman in a silk dress whispered, "I haven't felt this way in years." A businessman lowered his phone, a shame that he almost missed the moment. Even the hotel staff gathered at the back, their hearts lifted by the sound of a child who sang, like he carried the whole world inside him. When the final note faded, the silence that followed was heavy, sacred. And then a thunder of applause. The crowd rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even whistling. Arif's eyes widened, tears slipping down his cheeks. He had never heard applause before, not for him, not like this. The band clapped him on the back, grinning with admiration. The hotel manager, with eyes softened by awe, whispered to a guest, "That boy, he's the real star tonight." But what happened next changed everything. One of the guests, a famous music producer visiting from abroad, walked to the stage. He bent down to meet Arif's eyes and said, "Kid, the world needs to hear you. You don't belong outside these doors. You belong on the biggest stages." Arif couldn't speak. His mother, who had slipped in quietly during the performance, covered her mouth with both hands, overwhelmed. She had always believed in her son's gift, but never imagined the world would see it. That night didn't just end with applause, it ended with hope. The producer promised to help Arif, not only to nurture his talent, but to ensure his mother would never struggle again. Strangers came forward, offering support, money, and encouragement. The boy who once sang only to the stars above the rooftops was now a rising star himself. shining because kindness had opened a door. Years later, whenever Arif stood on a stage in front of thousands, he never forgot that night outside the hotel, the night when fate listened, when his father's memory lived again through the chords of Hotel California. And for everyone who had been in that hall, they remembered it too, not just as a performance, but as the moment they witnessed a miracle, a poor boy's angelic voice melting every heart it touched. So if you believe in the power of kindness, of dreams hidden inside the most unlikely places, let Arif's story remind you sometimes the greatest treasures are found in those the world overlooks. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us of the beauty and kindness, the strength and struggle, and the miracles waiting in the